Hello, hello. What is up, everybody? This is Marshall Lee of DonkeyJawProjects.com, and this is the 19th episode of the Early Bird Artcast. We're moving along here. And I had a second name I was thinking too, what was it called? Oh, Wake and Make. I like that name because I don't know. It's a lot of, I guess, the reason why I kind of do this is because, well, I don't know. There's a lot of reasons, I guess, but one thing that I think of is a lot of my art friends. I've talked about this a million times. A lot of my art friends are night owls, and the Artcasters show is always basically during the time that I sleep, and I need to sleep because I have to go to work in the morning, and usually I'm driving, so I don't want to fall asleep at the wheel or anything. So I just can't. I've been invited to that show plenty of times. I think I kind of have a bit of an open invitation there. Um, but you know, I've never been on it on the Artcaster show as it is because again, I need to sleep during that time. And so, it is what it is. I'd love to be on there. Obviously, I'm friends with all those people. Um, but, so, this is kind of, I guess, my answer to that. Uh, but that's not the only reason. I actually really, I've been wanting to do this show for a while, kind of, sort of, partially because of that, but also, and I have actually been on the Artcasters technically. When Jeff Lafferty used to do he used to do it during the mornings, and there was, I think, at least two times where I was on it during the morning version of it, and that was fun. Um, but you know, never been able to be on the nighttime one. So, anyways, yeah, I kind of just do this one, and figured I just figured there's got to be other people who are either up early or are in a different part of the world, where they can, it's a good time for them. So, um, you know, I know I'm not the only one who makes art in the morning. So, I don't know. It helps me to get out of my bed and actually work, you know, in the morning instead of, just being groggy and surfing on the internet or something while I get up and get ready and kind of wake up. Um, I was already kind of doing that, but this actual Artcast helps me to make sure I do it even more, I guess. Um, Sorry, you're not seeing. I'm inking a page of Corncob Rob, and this particular page is the only one I've been kind of hiding from people. It's like a splash page. It's kind of cool, and I don't want. I mean, it's not like amazing or anything, but I don't know. It's like you want to save a little bit of stuff for people to read it, and especially since it's for my patrons. I want them to have some exclusive content and whatnot. So yeah. Speaking about my patrons, I never really go and talk about that too much. But if you want to read my comic, Stocky Jaw Pro, or I mean, patreon.com/Donkey Jaw Projects. And, if you go to my website, there's a link right up at the top where you can just get right over there. But I wanted to do something real quick if I can find. Um, link. So I have 6 patrons so far, and I haven't shouted them out because these videos are different. Like I would, put them at the end, kind of, like at the end credits or whatever, if it was like an edited video, but these are live. So I just want to give a shout out to the people who are helping me along here. And that would be Chris McQuinlan, Jeff Lafferty, Josiah Huggins, Peter Palmiotti, Sumax Amen, and my buddy William McKenzie. Um, so thank you guys for supporting. It's a huge help. And anybody else who wants to read my comics, check them out. Go over to patreon.com/ Donkey Job Projects, and it's only $1 a month to get in on the fun. So yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for my patrons. And let's see what else. Let's look at the chat here before I get back to drawing. Hey, what's up? Dave is in there, and somebody special's in there as well. How you guys doing? Uh, yeah. Hiya. All right, I'm gonna get back to inking, and let's see how we do. Uh, hmm. So right now I'm drawing, like I said, that page, but I'm drawing. I'm just thinking. I'm drawing a skate park actually, which it's no surprise. This whole kind of comic, for the most part, takes place in a skate park, um, which is a little bit of a spoiler, I guess, but whatever. Um, and so this is kind of like the establishing shot of the skate park, and I'll tell you, I tried to kind of do it in perspective. And so the attempt is made. Now, whether I'm actually successful in getting it correctly in perspective, well, that's a whole nother story. But, I think it's good enough to, so first of all, you understand what's going on. And second of all, it looks cool enough. So, yeah, but it's a challenge because, skate parks, they don't necessarily like the buildings, like in a city, you know, if you're drawing like a cityscape, you want to draw like the skate park, I mean, city. And a lot of times, you can kind of work in the perspective because a lot of the buildings are, in a row or whatever. So, sometimes, but that's not actually always the case in cities. I mean, in New York, there's definitely a lot of parts because it's kind of made up of a grid system. There's definitely a lot of parts where it's kind of easier to do perspective, and you can kind of pretend that all cities are like that in your comics if you want. you know, you can definitely get away with the kind of going an easy route with perspective with cities. But if you want to add a little more visual interest, you might put a few buildings kind of askew and whatnot. And, some people may or may not be able to do that um, successfully. I know it would be a challenge for me. I'm not that good at perspective yet. I'm not really good, hardly at all yet at perspective. Um, I mean, the concepts I understand, they're simple enough, but you know, it's it can be challenging for sure. So, with a skate park, it's it's a little bit extra difficult because all the ramps and stuff, they have curves to them, and they're not necessarily placed like in a row, like in a specific order. Um, so it's a little bit of a challenge, and especially when you're somebody like me who goes the kind of fake it till you make it approach with a perspective so far most of the time. Um, you know, you're just gonna have to let it be, and hopefully it looks good enough where it's not like unreadable. And I think it's good. Works out. In my opinion, it seems fine. So I don't know. We'll see once it's inked. Sometimes things look a little bit different when it's inked than when you've drawn it. So what else do we got here? So I've been kind of trying to promote Shecember a little bit, especially since we were talking yesterday about it here on the Artcast. And it's pretty cool starting to get people interested. I have to do the graphics for it, which is like I want to do it like right now as soon as possible to just get it done so that, especially since Inktober is still going, but I have other things that are much more important at the moment to take care of. Namely, especially the comic that's got to get done in the next few days. Um, and there might be a paid job that I'm doing. It's not like a super crazy expensive one or hard one, but it's one that I'll have to make some time for. But it's sort of looking like that's gonna fall through the cracks because the person hasn't gotten back to me. It's like people want you to do stuff and everything, but once you're like, okay, and maybe I'm approaching this wrong. I don't know, but we agreed on a price, and so then I was like, all right, cool. So once once the money is in my PayPal account, um, I will start working on it. Um, and you know, I haven't heard anything since. So it's like, okay, so you basically either were trying to get me to work for free, or sometimes I wonder if there's just a misunderstanding. Like, it seems like I say it clear. This has happened more than once before. Seems like I say it clearly, like, hey, once you pay, then I'll start. I'm not gonna work, and maybe you could do the whole half up front, this and that, but maybe I'm wording it wrong though. Maybe I'm saying like maybe I should have explained it better or whatever, and made sure it was agreed upon on how it's gonna go. But again, this is like literally, this is like a commission. Like if somebody asks you to draw, you know, Superman or whatever, Batman or whatever, it's not like a job like an illustration job, where I'm doing like a children's book or whatever. Everybody always goes to the children's book example, but it makes me wonder what else do people get paid for? Because I haven't been in the illustrating world, so but all people always say children's book. So I'm like, well, I'm curious what other kind of jobs you can get, like, because I mean, I guess I would kind of like to do a children's book, but you know, I don't know. I've heard that that's not necessarily the greatest kind of gig to get from like Kevin Cross, and I've heard other people too. You have to do it right, or else it's you can easily get kind of screwed over. Sorry, I'm still a little bit groggy waking up. Doo-doo-doo. All right, so let's check in with the chat again real quick. It's Friday morning. Nobody wants to get up and go to work and watch a Artcast. um, that's okay. You know, that's how things go. It's fine. I mean, I don't know if that's the reason. I'm just talking. All right, so yeah, this comic is it's coming along pretty good. Um, but you know, I'll be honest, I'm a little bit concerned of whether it'll get done or not, and I think it will. I don't think we're gonna have a problem, but you know, can't help but be a little anxious until it's actually done. Um, I have let's see, I have this page to finish inking. I'm trying. I have like a bunch of pages inked, and I want to get those scanned at work today. And unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to have all the pages inked because I have 2 pages that I still have to pencil and ink. So you know, there's no way that's gonna get done. You know, at lunch at work or whatever. Um, so you know, I'm gonna have to. Hopefully, I can ink it during the weekend and maybe sneak over to work for a minute and just scan it, and then you know maybe on Sunday I could finish up the dialogue. And another thing too is the dialogue is rough, if not. I mean, I'm literally writing the story as I draw it. Some in some ways, like the especially the end, like um, you know, kind of coming up with how it's going, and just a couple different little sequences here and there. So when I do the dialogue, it's going to take some concentration. I'm going to be actually writing the words for the first time for most of it. There's some stuff I have written, some dialogue I have written, but for a lot of it, you know, I'm literally going to be writing it when I um, do the lettering. So um, you know, it's a little bit tricky on how long that's going to take. I can't really say because I don't even have it written. So that could potentially become problematic. But I gotta make it. I gotta make the thing finished. You know, by a certain time, so I can get it to my patrons. So something's gonna happen. So we'll see. We'll see how it all works out. I wonder like if anybody ever does this, but I have a feeling that it's possible I could write it and then kind of have it completed for my patrons and then rewrite it. We're talking about corn cob Rob, if I wasn't clear before, and possibly like kind of change the text eventually a little bit. Um, It'd be kind of an interesting experiment if like you could draw a comic and then like by changing the dialogue, like go in and change all the dialogue and see if you can make it into a whole different story. You know, kind of like adding your own captions. That'd be kind of fun, actually. Maybe it could be like a cool challenge I put out to my readers whenever I start to actually get a real readership. I don't know, that's kind of fun. But yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to having this one finished. And then The plan, I think what I'm going to do, most likely, we'll see though. I might not do this, we'll see. But I think I'm going to just continue with this story for next month because this is only going to be the first part to the story. It might be the first of two parts, and it might be the first of more than two parts. I don't know. Um, but this story does lend to further stories as well. So there probably will be more um, corncob Rob stories. The one I did last month, um, Darby Cufflink, that's a one and done. You know, most likely you'll never see that character again, except for this one time, this one um, issue. This one though has the potential to go on indefinitely. Um, so this is something I've been thinking about, and I haven't really told too many people. It's mostly been something I've just thought about. Um, but I've never yet made an actual comic. Like I've made mini comics. I've made you know, I guess the first kind of actual comic I've ever made really was the 100 Days anthology. Um, but the dream in the beginning was to make floppy comics. The way I read them. Growing up, and I've never actually done that yet, which is kind of crazy because I've been pretty busy working on comics for a while now. Um, so it's like it's high time. It's like I'm involved in all these people's like Kickstarters sometimes and try to help promote it. I try to support them if I usually can. Lately, I haven't been able to support anything because I financial stuff, but um, you know, to the point where I almost feel like I've already done a lot of Kickstarters, but I haven't. The last time I did my own Kickstarter, I mean, I did the anthology with my friends and stuff, but the last time I did my own Kickstarter was literally the same year that Kickstarter, the website started, and I did it for an album, a hip hop album. Um, and so, you know, I and I'm not saying I'm even gonna do Kickstarter again. I'll probably do Indiegogo. I just watched Jeff Lafferty's video, and he kind of struggled to get to his goal. Um, but since then, he's kept his Indiegogo. Like, there's a way you can kind of keep it open for people if they missed out on the campaign, they can still get the book type of thing. And his goal was like I think $3,000, and now he is at $7,000, and he ended his campaign on about $5,000. So that's kind of an awesome thing, and that makes me want to go the Indiegogo route. Um, so, anyways, the point isn't about crowdfunding. This is about getting projects out. And I just recently watched a interview with Jake Parker, and I've seen a million interviews with Jake Parker and his stuff on his own channel, and all that fun stuff. So a lot of I don't. It's kind of weird that I actually watched this interview because sometimes if I see an interview come up of somebody who I've already listened to a lot, I'm like, well, I'm not going to watch that because I already know a lot of what they're going to say. But I watched it and there was stuff that I hadn't heard before. But one thing is he did actually reiterate, which and it's a notion that I actually love that he talks about is make a product, not a project, you know. And there's a certain debate about it, whatever, blah blah blah. But I get what he means, and I like that notion. And I look through my Instagram and YouTube, and I've had a lot of activity. I mean, I've had like probably close to 700 videos on my YouTube. Um, you know, and like my Instagram, I was going through the kind of the early posts last night actually. And it's I've done a lot of things, but I haven't necessarily made a lot of products. And especially somebody who's into comics, I haven't made a lot of comic products. I mean, I made 3 mini comics, cool. I've done some online web stuff and whatnot, and I also did the Life in Space Anthology, 100s Anthology. Oh, that's awesome. It counts, for sure. Um, but, you know, I should have my own comics out. People like Gaz Bot and Scott Sterklin, they've been doing it as long as I've been doing it or longer, maybe a little bit. But, um, and, they got 3 issues or whatever out of their book. Gaz has 2, but he's working on the third. And, they're kind of clocking along. And so many people, Chris McQuinlan, just so many people have gotten comics out and done Kickstarters, and I've been supporting them and think it's awesome. And sometimes you get so involved and you almost feel like they're your projects because they're your buddies, and you're supporting and whatnot. But when it comes down to it, it's like, wait a minute, where are my comics? Why am I not in the ring? There. And it's good to work on projects, but if you're not actually making products, then nobody has anything to buy, and are you really actually building your career? I mean, there's arguments that can be made that it's fine, whatever, blah blah blah. I get it. I'm not saying that that's the be all and end all, but it kind of puts things into perspective a little bit. If you are one of your goals is to create comic books and make a living kind of off of it, or even just build a following, or whatever. So um I want to make more products, like just like Jake Parker, how Jake Parker talks about it. That's been my goal all along anyway. So it's like, why isn't it happening? I forgot. It's almost like I forget, oh yeah, I want to actually get stuff done here. So anyways, I don't know if that all makes sense or resonates in any way, but that's it motivated me. Um, and I'm thinking maybe it's possible because the way Corncob Rob is kind of being put together, um, it might be a comic, like a floppy comic's worth of pages. And at this point, I can make it into that, if I want to. Um, So I'm kind of thinking that Corncob Rob might end up being my first floppy. Now, don't quote me on that. I might change my mind. Um, you know, it is kind of a rougher style comic, so it's like, do I want this to be my first comic? Or do I want something where I'm like really going balls to the wall, trying to make it the most amazing thing I can, my comic. Like I almost think of like Glyph, my character Glyph, maybe that, because I am planning on getting to Glyph again soon. Um, maybe that should be my first comic, but I don't know. I mean, why not have Horn Cobb Rob be the first one, And it'll be free for my patrons, on a digital version, but then I'll probably do the colors and whatnot, and then make it into like an Indiegogo campaign. See how that goes. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool. Plus, with all this big Indiegogo stuff that everybody's doing, the comics gate and whatnot, maybe I'll have a chance to get in on some of that. I'm not, again, I'll say, just to be clear, I'm not a comic skater. But, I do actually tend to agree with a lot of the stuff they talk about. Um, but, I also agree with friends who don't like that stuff. So, I don't feel like I have any reason to be, be a comic skater, but I'm happy to connect with them on the basis of we all love comics and stuff. I don't see any problem with that. And um, I'm also, you know, I actually do kind of agree with some of their points as well. Now, if there's any kind of like meanness going on and like making fun of people or drama, I don't want anything to do with that. But you know, I'll just stay away from that part of it. But when it comes down to it, they're people and they love comics. They're making comics. I'm not trying to be involved in like super political aspects of it, but to be honest, a lot of comic skaters feel the same way. They don't want to be involved in politics or the drama part of it. They just want to make cool comics, and they don't want to be involved with an industry that's seems like it's kind of ruining comics. So they're kind of doing their own thing. So cool, whatever. So it looks like I got some more people in here. Dave's still in here. How many pages have you got left to do? I got about 2 pages left to do. Fully. I'm inking kind of 1 page, but then I have 2 full pages I have to do. Um, it's gonna end up being about 10 pages. This this part of it. Cone Artist is in. What's up, man? I've been chatting with him on Facebook. He's caught in Bufferland apparently, so he has no sound. Oh no. Hopefully you can watch on the replay, man. And try the other link. Cool. I didn't check to see if anybody's here, but usually I can hear if they are. Yeah, I don't see anybody in here. I did send an invitation to Cone Artist and some, my typical group of people as well. Dave says, this sounds like an interesting idea for a fun afternoon. I'm not sure what you mean. How many ideas for comics do you have at any one time? I mean, the comic ideas are kind of endless to a point where it's almost annoying. Like, because, like, I almost don't want to come up with more comic ideas because it never ends and I'll never be able to get to all of them. Um, but, one thing that's cool though is I know I'll never run out. So it's like, or if somebody were like to steal one of my ideas, which God forbid, I hope that never happens, but it's almost like, well, I'll just make another idea. But these ideas, once they get actually take put together, they actually have some good value to them. Um, they're actually assets. So, um, anyways, so I mean, right now, I kind of have a decent, somewhere around, and I'm not counting, but somewhere around like 10 I that are kind of ready for me to make part of my 100 I mean part of my Patreon comics for the next months. So I have 10 that are fleshed out enough, to where I can probably make a comic out. I mean, but I have so many I have tons of ideas that I could still kind of go and be like, oh, you know what, maybe I'll try that one. So it's almost endless. But if I didn't have any ideas, I could come up with 10 today as I'm driving, like it's just they never stop. And I don't want to just do one idea. So that's another part of why I'm doing comics the way I am right now, with doing the one comic a month. So yeah, I guess that answers that. I'm curious what you meant. This sounds like an interesting idea for a fun afternoon. It probably had to do with something I was talking about. Na Nanorama, what's up? Um, the Corn Man. Thanks for coming in, man. Uh, ever thought of collating your work into an anthology of your own work? Yeah, that's kind of what the plan was and sort of is. When I get to a point where I have a decent amount of little short stories like this done, that's what I was gonna do. I was gonna make, you know, like a one man anthology of all of them. I also have some other projects going on too that are anthology based, uh, with friends and different situations. So the 100 Days of Making Comics is gearing up for something too soon. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Um, so you know, but yeah, even my own, just for myself, I have thought about that. I also would love to kind of make a kind of a sketchbook, um, or an art book. I've thought about doing that too, but it's just I got to take the time out to like create a format for it or whatever. Like, and I don't know how to do that. Like, I don't know. Like, I um, I feel like I need more. I need to see more examples of other people's sketchbooks so I could see like some ideas of how I can format it. Let me check the time. Oh yeah, it's time for me to get going. Let me just go through these chats real quick, and then I'll have to sign out pretty soon. Cone Artist says, "Be proud of what you've done. This industry seems like it's hell to break into, but when it does, it gets easier." Yeah, man, it's true. I do kind of. I tend to try to be honest. So like sometimes it sounds like I'm kind of downplaying my work. But yeah, it's true. Sometimes I need to be a little more confident. But yeah, absolutely be proud of what you've done. I like that. Do corn cob Rob. Oh, so you're probably saying like for that issue, for the single issue. Yeah, cool. Thanks for the vote of confidence. Your words, product, not project. Okay. Skate or die, draw or die. I like that. Fuy's in here. What's up, Fuy? Cone Artist says, "Morning, I'm here." Okay, talking to each other. And Dave says, "Interesting idea for fun afternoon. Taking a comic and replacing dialogue to make it different." Okay, gotcha. Yeah, what I was talking about earlier. Cool. Yeah, it is. I think it would be fun. Um, so that's gonna be it, guys. I gotta get going to work. But I really appreciate you guys hanging out again on patreon.com/donkeyjawprojects if you want to read Corn Cob Rob when it comes out. Um, and that'll be in a few days, God willing. So there's that. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter on as Marshall Lee _ DJP. And also my other Instagram is Zillustrations if you want to check that out. And other than that, again, thank you to my Patreons. Thank you to all the people hanging out in the chat with me this morning. And thank you to those who are watching on the replay. You guys are awesome. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will talk to you next time. Alrighty. I always forget to like have the button ready to stop it. All right. I'll talk to you guys later.